Wood's argument there, Drew, which you heard, is that if they continue and achieve the EBITDA goals that this proposed package is set from us by the board, then the outperformance of the stock will make it in the interest of shareholders. You don't agree with that. Why?
Well, thanks, Ed. So, we can't predict what the market's going to do, and we're evaluating pay packages. We look at them vis-a-vis other comparable companies. So let's say he does achieve all those goals, but say the market does as well, too. Are we really paying for alpha, or, is that a market beta? When we looked at the last 8 years of returns, going back to when the original package was put into place, Tesla was one of our best performers. It wasn't our best, but it was in our top 10. And then when we compared, the annualized pay of the $96 million they want to give him in the restricted stock award that vests in 2 years, and then we looked at median pay of these other high performers in our portfolio, and that piece of the package alone is 73 times the median of other high-performing companies and CEOs in our portfolio, and we just thought that multiple gap was too high.
Drew, the board is going to argue, they have argued on this program, that Tesla is not comparable to other companies. Elon Musk is the only person on the planet who has the skill set, is what Robin Denholm told us. The real point of tension that you have with others is the concentration of voting power. You said at the time that you cast the vote or confirmed it, that it put too much concentration of power in a single shareholder. That's exactly the rationale that Elon Musk is proposing investors vote in favor of the package. He wants the voting power in order to achieve the goals that the board have set him. How do you reconcile that going forward?
Well, we look back, and at one point he owned 25% of the company and then sold off half of it, and they've achieved goals with him being a 12 or 13% shareholder. So I don't see diluting shareholders by another 12 or 13% changes the dynamic. He also is a person with a huge stake in this company. I don't see why he would, want to do anything that would damage it. So I don't see why he needs any extra control over what he already has. I mean, he and the board together own about 16% of the company. And, we don't think diluting ourselves by another potentially $1 trillion, changes that dynamic.
I suppose Elon's argument has been they're at this inflection point. And it's moving not just from cars, and they still want to have, 20 million cars on the roads, but it's going into the era of AI and into humanoid robots and the army of robots he's going to be producing. Would you want him to have the most say over an army of humanoid robots?
Well, I think he already has tremendous say as the largest shareholder of the company. As a, governance person, do we want so much risk in one person? Maybe he is the visionary that the board thinks he is, but we don't know what could happen to anybody. And to have this much risk placed in one person and to dilute ourselves just to one person, there's tens of thousands of people working at Tesla creating value. And if it is, so key on just one person, key person risk, that's a worry for me as a shareholder.
You are all about stewardship and of the pension fund holders that you report to ultimately, but you've done this job for a long time over at Morgan Stanley and other players. If Elon Musk was to walk, would that be in your role of stewardship? How do you manage to balance that out of what the risk is if indeed he did leave?
Yeah, so we do think of ourselves as long-term shareholders, and a lot of our portfolio is indexed, and so we plan to hold this company for a long time. So we try not to worry too much about if one person leaves today or tomorrow. We're in it for the long haul. So if he left tomorrow, would that be a short-term hit to the business? Possibly. But if we're going to hold this company for a long time, and the board has to replace him and get somebody in terrific, maybe not as good as Elon, but pretty terrific, we still think we're going to benefit over the long term by holding this stock.
Drew, we got many, many questions from our audience for you. One of them was what Caroline just asked, what happens if Elon leaves tomorrow? I think the other one is people would really appreciate an explanation of the criteria by which you cast your vote. So you explained on the comparisons, historic patterns. But one way that it was put to me is, in the context of CalPERS, is do you understand the company? Did you look at the mandatory goals set by the board and say, okay, this could be to the benefit of the stakeholders in our pension plan?
Yeah, and we evaluate every pay plan, case by case, and so we did look at those things. And what we're trying to do when we're, paying a CEO is what part of that return is beta, and then where is the actual skill. And so it's hard for us to predict what the beta is going to be 10 years from now at the end of this award period. And, he might do very well. He might increase it by 6 times. The market could go up by 6 times, and that would be, how would he be any better than anybody else? And so to give up that much control and dilute ourselves that much for one person, we think is a risk as well.
There's a risk that he might never achieve these goals, and you've seen that with other similar pay packages echoed. We've seen it at Airbnb, we've seen it at other players where they haven't managed to top the goals. Do you think 1 million robo-taxis is achievable in the time frame? Do you think the FSD is? Do you think the cars are?
Well, it's possible that all those things are, and I think this time, too, the competition is greater than when Tesla came to market with their first car in terms of EVs. You have Google working on robo-taxis, you have the Chinese working on them. So it's going to be a more competitive marketplace. Certainly they are in a position to be one of the key players in this. But, 10 years from now, we might be talking about, 3 other companies that dominate robo-taxis. That's hard for us to know today.